recently broke my retainer. So pissed off, it's unbelievable. I didn't want to do any talking or anything on camera without my teeth, but it's happening anyways. We're moving past it. Because I have so much to say. It could be World War III before we even know it, right? And I'm scared to know what's going to happen or where this is going to go, or if we do go to war, like what that even means or what will really happen. But yeah, so I want to talk about why I feel like we're totally about to be dragged into World War III. And I say World War III because if we get dragged into the Ukraine war, that's World War III, okay? And we're totally being dragged into this war. So World War III pretty much began like 2 weeks ago. It's just not called that yet or whatever. So ever since it's been happening, though, the United States has been trying to stay out of it, right? We're like, we're not involved. And Ukraine's like, please help us. Hey, America, anybody help us? We're like, nah, bro, we'd love to help, but we just got out of a war. Like, we're chilling for like the first time. Like, we just like we're staying out of it, okay? We're done being the hero. We're done, just like, we're done. So we're chilling. And then Ukraine's like, no, but we need fucking help. Because all of a sudden you're hearing about this thing called NATO now. And you're like, oh, so what's NATO? You know what NATO is? NATO is just it's the new thing that everybody talks about pretending they know what it is already. It's the new thing that you just hear on the news, and everybody's just talking about it like we've all been always talking about it. Everybody's talking about it like everybody just, like, moved past the definition. Like, we already obviously know what NATO is, okay? It's just the new thing that everybody's talking about, and we just... It's one of those things that's just so obviously existed before, and it's just in the background, and it's just one of those things that it's just, it's so obvious, and it's just one of those main things about the world. But it's just... But yeah, you're like, okay, so everybody's an expert on NATO now, like, or whatever the fuck that even is, like, and sure, like, maybe I've heard of it once or twice, but it's just like, so it's the new thing that everybody's talking about, pretending they know what it is. NATO is the new hot, cool thing to talk about, and everyone's an expert on it, and but you know what's interesting? You know what NATO is? It's the whole reason we're being dragged into World War III. That's what it is. NATO is like a loophole that Ukraine found. Freaking the president of Ukraine was like looking through like some dictionaries or like just looking through the internet, scouring anything. Like, okay, how can I fucking legally make this so that people have to help me? Like I'm being brutally attacked and murdered, and my town's just being invaded for like no fucking reason. Like, not my town, but my country is being invaded for like literally no reason. So I have to he's like looking at all these laws, like somebody has to be like fucking obligated to like do something to help me, right? So he's like looking through all these fucking pamphlets and all these things. He's like, God, I have to be able to fucking get somebody to fucking help me somehow. And then he finds this loophole, this NATO thing. This obviously isn't how it happened, okay? This whole war kind of is over because Putin kind of was always afraid that Ukraine would become part of NATO. So he tried to go in there and invade. And he became the catalyst to what he didn't want to happen. If I'm getting my stuff correct. I mean, I don't know shit about it. So Zelensky is like looking through all these pamphlets like, somebody has to be like liable or like obligated or like something to help me. And then he finds this little NATO thing, and it says, if anybody in NATO gets attacked, that means all of them get attacked. And he's like, oh, I have people right next to me that are NATO. And so he's like, first off, he wants to now become a part of NATO because that means all of a sudden they're attacking America. The Norwegian asshole tyranny operation is a bunch of countries that have an agreement. They're all, I think they all have nuclear weapons maybe, or they're all like first world countries, or they're all like maybe like fucking European, or like, I don't know. But there's like more than 10 of them. I forget how many. It's irrelevant. But the point is NATO is like the Justice League of the world. It's like a bunch of democratic countries that formed an alliance that they were going to be a power for good. And so they're like, okay, if we all form an alliance to be a power for good, then hopefully we'll be an unstoppable good force for the world, right? Because I think it's like 13 or like 20 something. I don't know. Something countries though. It's a lot of countries to band together. Their military and their everything comes together. If you attack one of them, you attack all of them, and they're supposed to be a force for good. They're supposed to kind of be like, in my mind, I see them as they're supposed to be a preventative measure for like another Holocaust or like something like this. Because Nobody really wants to fight NATO, apparently. That's the word on the street. And so that's why everybody's talking about it. Oh, are they going to go to war with NATO? Because if they go to war with NATO, they pretty much already lost. It's like, oh, they're just going to get fucking annihilated. And it's like, is that really true? And it's like, well, is it true? Would NATO just annihilate Russia? It's like, well, I don't know. Because remember, I don't know shit. But it's interesting to think that us, as America, if we went to war with Russia, like just us, it'd be a fucking battle for the ages. It would be fucking ridiculous. It might ruin the war in the process, or it might ruin the world in the process. We would just fucking annihilate each other. And it would be a fucking force to be reckoned with. And there's a chance that we could just annihilate Russia, right? Like single-handedly as a country. We wouldn't even need help, right? Like if it was just us versus Russia, like round one, fight. Like there's a chance that we might just fucking annihilate them. You know, maybe not annihilate them. Like there'd be casualties on both sides, obviously. But it's like, you know, maybe we'd fuck them up. Like we don't know. But so it's interesting to think that it'd be a fair fight between the two of us. But NATO is like us with like 12 other fucking giant armies. So that's why nobody wants to fight it, though. You know what I mean? Because fighting America is already fucked up. Let alone fighting America and another army. Let alone America and 12 other fucking armies, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like redonkulous at that point, you would think. You know, I don't know if, NATO would for sure win. But when you think about it, as NATO is just like the freaking Justice League of like the world. Because, yeah, think of it. America is like Superman. Like, you know, just think of it as a generic dumbass thing, right? America is like Superman, right? It's like Superman's a force to be reckoned with. He can save a lot of lives by himself. You know, he can fucking lift fucking shit. He can put in work. He can do his fucking shit. He can fly around the world. He can fucking do all this crazy shit. Like he can fucking save the world single-handedly if you want to. He's fucking Superman. But then you put him in the Justice League with all these other fucking people, and it's like, oh, a whole team of fucking superheroes. So that's pretty much what NATO is. It's a team of superpowers, right? Think of their big armies as superpowers, right? Because like Poland and like England, or I don't fucking know who's involved in it, right? But a bunch of places that have armies, okay? So all the armies would be coming together. And it's funny because this whole time, Putin, you can tell he just doesn't want any of it. He's just like, I'm not attacking NATO, okay? I'm fucking up Ukraine. I'm not trying to fight NATO, you guys. He's like, stop it. That's, like, every time I turn the news on, I swear to God, they're like, oh, are you on NATO territory? Oh, are you going to fucking start that? And he's like, no, guys, stop it. Why would I do that? You know that I wouldn't do that. You know that I know that you guys would eviscerate me. Come on, guys. I'm playing around with Ukraine. Come on. I'm fucking them. You know I don't have beef with you guys. And we're standing there like, you kind of sure you don't have, like, beef with us? He's like, yeah, dude. I literally don't. Like, NATO, like, we're friends, right? And so we're just, like, standing back. But it's funny because the whole time, I feel like Zelensky knows that that's like his saving grace. If he became a part of NATO, it's fucking over for Russia. Because Russia would already be attacking NATO. You know, like, because they could even vote it, technically they could even vote it into, like, being a thing, like, as they're being attacked. They could, like, fucking make a meeting, or have a little meeting, and be like, okay, yeah, you're part of NATO now. And fucking they'd give them a little crown. And then all of a sudden, America and all these people would be involved in the war. I don't think that's how we're going to get involved in it. I don't think that Ukraine's going to become part of NATO. I think that NATO's going to get dragged into it because of the whole you attack one of them, you attack all of them thing. And so that's where Zelensky is like, he's like, God damn it, how do I make this so that they're attacking NATO? He's like, because that's my saving grace. I just have to make my whole fucking mission now is not to really fight the Russians, but to fucking convince the world that Russia's attacking NATO so that the entire world comes to my rescue and fucking annihilates them. And so every step of the way, Zelensky's like, NATO? And Russia's like, no, this is between us. I'm beating the fuck out of you, right? And then Zelensky's like, oh, come on. Oh, NATO? And NATO's like, no, we're not getting involved. But then Zelensky's like going through the nights, and he's like reading all these fucking documents, and he finds this loophole. He's like, you attack one of them, you attack all of them. Okay, well, right next to us. He's like looking for all these loopholes, like, how can I drag America into this war to save me? Or how can I drag NATO into this war to save me? And it's not like I wouldn't want that. It's not, I do want that. Because if we could really just fuck them up that easily, then I guess it's worth stepping in and helping. I'm not against it at all. I just think it's funny that, like, because of course, but they're acting like that's not a thing. But of course it is. If I was Zelensky, I'd be doing the same fucking thing. Like, yeah, look for any loophole to fucking, you know. And so that's what he's been doing. He's been finding loopholes, and that's why we're pretty much already involved in this war, because there's loopholes left and right. It's like, oh, well, NATO also agreed to, you know, protect the world from all nuclear disasters or whatever. So Russia attacking Ukraine's nuclear facilities is getting NATO involved. So now you're already declaring war on NATO. And it's funny because Russia's like, fuck. He's like, Russia's like, God, no, I'm not trying to fight you guys. He's like, you know what I mean? It's like he's beating the crap out of this random innocent bystander, and the fucking Justice League walks up. He's like, no, guys, stop it. No, okay? This is a fair fight between me and him, okay? We're duking it out. You don't have to get involved. You know? But we're like, oh, but you're doing all these war crimes. Like, every time he's done a war crime, it's like we're like stepping in, like, like, and so now, like, every day it gets worse. Not only is there a new tragedy every day, ever since this war started, it's like, oh, this place got bombed. Oh, this place got bombed. And I know we hear about that all the time. I know that it's like, ever since we can think back, we've always been at war, and it's like everything's always blowing up, and there's always explosions, and we're so used to seeing death and just explosions on the news, and I get it, but this is just like, it is different though, and people are like, oh, it's different because it's white people. It's like, Aval, that's so dumb, because it's like if America got attacked, right, and then people are like, oh wow, America got attacked, oh, just a bunch of white people. Okay, on my way to work, when I drive, I see Asians, I see Mexicans, I see Native Americans, I see Indians, I see black people, I see white people. I see fucking fat white chicks with purple hair. I see fucking gay black dudes with pink fingernails. I see fucking an Asian woman freaking dating an Indian woman, like, who's dating like a white, like, fucking, you know, like, and they're in a threesome. Like, it's the most diverse fucking shit in the world, okay? It's called a democracy. It's called freedom. It's called a free, you know what I mean? It's like saying if America got bombed, like, oh, it's just a bunch of white people. Like, so that's obviously a dumb as fuck thing to say, okay? Because there's more than just white people over there. It's not just a white people thing. You know what people mean to say when they say, oh, you're just mad now that the war's happening to white people? You know what people really mean by that? What they mean to say is, oh, you're just mad now that the war is happening to first world countries. Or you're just mad that the war came to civilized countries. Or you're just mad that the war is now happening to people that live a life like you. You see relatability in the news, so now it's a big deal. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that one. Yeah, because when things happen, they're relatable. Like, if you're in high school and you see a shooting, like a school shooting on the news, like, oh, it's relatable. Like, things are more fucked up when they're relatable. So, yeah, maybe when you see, like, a battle in the desert and everybody's speaking Arabic, it's it's so foreign to you that you can't really comprehend it. And we still can't even comprehend this, because even though we see the news and it's like we can see a first world country getting fucked up, Aval, it looks demolished. So we're like, it's a piece of shit country. No, it's not. It looks like that because it's been blown up. First off. But second of all, it's like because they don't speak English, we have some disconnect. It's like we hear them speaking Russian and we're like, oh yeah, that's the war language. When I play Call of Duty, they literally speak Russian. Granada! You know, they literally just speak, you know, if you hear somebody speaking Arabic or you hear somebody speaking Russian, it's just like one of those war languages, right? And so when you watch the news and you see a terror attack and they're speaking a foreign language and everything just looks like rubble, it's like, oh, those people are not like me. They live such a different life than me. And their whole way of life and the way how that happened to them is because they live such a different life than me. And that would never happen to me because they live over there and they have this whole different fucking thing and all these different, and it's just so crazy over there. But no, so this Ukraine thing, the only reason that it looks like they live in a village, or the only reason that it looks like they live in a fucked up place, is because they've been bombed recently. But they are just as civilized as us here in America. It is democracy. So yeah, when people are like, you're just mad that white people are getting killed now, it's like, no, because it's a democracy. That's what it's about. It's tyrannical dictators, leaders like Putin or like Kim Jong-un, people that want to enslave their people or control them. It's that way of thinking, you know, Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, those fucking prison cities, pretty much. You look at the Russian, like, interviews where they interview people about like what they think about what's happening, and like every fourth person is like, oh no, I'm not going to talk about that. They'll arrest me, or they're just like, oh no, yeah, it's dangerous to talk about that on camera. No, don't ask me that. Then you straight up see that, okay, yeah, okay, and then so when you see that woman like, no, I love Vladimir Putin. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay, so she's obviously seen some crazy shit because the guy before her was like, no, we'll get arrested for saying that. Don't film me and asking me that. And he like runs away. It's like, oh, okay. So those angry people, they're like, no, I love Vladimir Putin. Shut the fuck up. They are obviously like, get what's going on, and like, but it's not like a they're really sucking his dick thing. But it's like you can see what's happening type thing. You know what I mean? But it's like the dictatorship and that evil way of thinking versus a free way of thinking. In Russia, LGBTQ is frowned upon, right? They don't have very much diversity in the Russian military. Okay? I hate to point that out. I mean, sure, yeah, there's some black people or whatever in the Russian military, but it's not super diverse. You know what I mean? And they're kind of trying to, do the opposite of that whole thing with the whole, trying to make Ukraine part of them. And so it's the free way of thinking versus that way. It's literally good versus evil. You know what I mean? And it's weird to think about that. And it's like, we like to think that evil doesn't actually exist. Like, their point of view is like they're just trying to do something good, and it just conflicts with our good thing. But I really don't see how they think that they're doing a good thing. And it's like, and he hasn't even explained it in a way. And I was like, his own people are like questioning him, and it's a whole fucking clusterfuck, and it's just all ridiculous and confuses me. But not really. I mean, I get it for the most part. But yeah, it's like we're pretty much already involved. From day one, it's just like, you just keep hearing about how we're slowly getting dragged into it. And it's like, oh yeah, aren't we always in a war? No, I don't think America is in a war right now, And that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like people are always just like, oh, America's going to get dragged into the war? What's new? Oh, it's about time we go back to war. Like, aren't we in like 7 wars right now? The war on drugs, maybe. Yeah, the war will always be in or whatever. But it's like, we literally just left Afghanistan, though. When did America leave Afghanistan?
The 30th of August 2021. According to Wikipedia, the United States Armed Forces completed their withdrawal from Afghanistan on the 30th of August 2021, marking the end of the 20-year-long war in Afghanistan.
It's like 7 months ago. Okay, maybe that's not so soon. I thought it was only a couple months ago. But at the same time, it hasn't even been a year, guys. We're not even going to make it a year. It's like that sign in the factory, like, it's been this long since our last terrible thing. It's like, guys, it hasn't even been a year yet, and we're going to not only get into another war, but we're going to get into, like, a fat-ass fucking war. We're going to get into, like, World War III. Like, literally. And I know it sounds impossible, and it sounds just out of fucking possibility, and it's just so out of sight. So impossible. Oh, so just being dramatic. But think about it. It's literally already happened twice. World War I, World War II, and there's going to be, like, 7, probably. You know what I mean? But, I mean, like, it's already happened twice. It's totally going to happen again. Good versus evil, Something has to happen in the world for evil to just go away, you know what I mean? Either the evil is going to win and the world is just going to be a fucking terrible, torturous, just bitch-ass, fucking awful place, and the devil will win and everything will just be awful. Or good will snuff out the evil, and then people that live in these first world countries, we can just live our lives. And we can just die when the sun burns out, or we can just die of old age, or we can just live our lives and do our thing, and not get attacked, and not be at war with each other. Wouldn't that be amazing if we just weren't at war with each other? Think about living in society, though. We just go to work, we go to society, we get along with each other, we all hang out. We live in a functioning society. Is it really impossible to think that it could be that way everywhere? Nobody's murdering each other with grenades and just blowing each other to smithereens, and no, people aren't crying by the billions and just ripping each other, and it's just like, no explosions, like, and everyone always hates it, and because remember, pain's terrible, it's like the worst thing, and murder's like the worst thing, and nobody likes to be uncomfortable, and we're humans, and we feel all these things, and we have emotions, and it's just this nightmare of emotions and pain and agony and suffering. It's just like, it would be so just, impossible to just get rid of all that. It would be just so, like, does it really seem like either we always think of that inevitable future as, people are just going to kill themselves off with the inevitable nuclear war. They're just going to get to a point where eventually people just fucking, all the rockets fly and everything just explodes, and then we start over. And, like, that's the classic story. But it's like, no, like, does it really seem impossible to think that maybe everywhere will just chill out eventually? Like, eventually, maybe we'll just, like, give cell phones to people in Afghanistan and be like, calm down, internet, Candy Crush, chill out. Like, just fucking, like, cook some shit. Like, we have fire, we have, like, feelings, like, we have clothes, we got it figured out. Like, we got planes, like, chill out. Like, everybody can just chill out and have a good time, right? Like, that's not the most impossible fucking outlandish thing. It's just don't shoot people. Like, is that so impossible for just everybody to just not blow each other up? Is that really the most far-fetched idea to think that could never happen? But I personally kind of think that that's on the horizon, maybe. And I've never thought that would be a thing. I've always thought that war would just go on forever. But at the end of the day, it's like, this stuff kind of just has to stop eventually, right? Like, people need to just... Like, wouldn't it be great if people just stopped killing each other? Don't you think that everybody would probably like that? Wouldn't that be a good solution? Wouldn't everybody probably just be like, cool, yeah. Could we just... Yeah, cool, yeah. I think that'll happen one day. You know, I have hope. I have hope, I have faith, I have my fingers crossed, I have whatever, you know. Because I've had enough bad news and I've seen enough sad shit. And it's like literally a new tragedy every day. It's like, oh, they bombed a maternity ward. A bunch of women and children died. They did it on purpose. Next day, they're bombing this nuclear facility. The next day, oh, they bombed this entire city. This entire city just doesn't exist now. Like, all... Imagine that. Imagine if your hometown, like, just got erased. Or imagine if America just got erased. Not erased like just like, but like imagine if we all declared war and everybody was like, okay, let's fight. I've thought about this lately because this is what they're trying to do in Ukraine. Just imagine if one day you woke up and you saw the news like, oh, people are going to overthrow the American government. People are finally had it with America and they're super pissed. Next thing you know, you look on the news and the White House has just been fucking like blown up. And you'd be like, what the fuck? You'd be like, oh my god, they really did that? What the shit? And then like the next day, like the Pentagon. And you're like, and the next day, just like your state's capital. Or just like your neighborhoods. And then every day you wake up and something around you is just blown up. And then in like 2 months, when all the bombs and everything and all the smoke clears and you're like, what the fuck? There's just no internet. There's just no phones. Because there's no police. There's no really anything. There's shambles of just littered, broken fucking stores and the remnants of what used to be houses and stores and shops. But and then you realize that every like police station has been like systematically destroyed. Every like center of government like has been actually erased. Like, the people high up have actually been killed. The people that are wandering the streets left are the scragglers that are just fucking, like, they flip burgers, you know? They don't know government, you know? Like, maybe there's some soldiers, but it's just gonna be people, like, in tatters, like, what the fuck? Like, walking around like, what the fuck do we do now? And yeah, you start over, you know? We don't even know where the state ends and begins anymore because the people that had all the knowledge to everything are dead. Sure, we could read books, but it's kind of only like fucking like a few million of us scattered throughout and everything's in shambles, and maybe even all the libraries and shit got burned down. I mean, like, who even, you know what I mean? Shit can go so south. All of our knowledge is gone. Just like if they eviscerate like the fucking like Google headquarters or something, it's like, or like some sort of something to where they just like erase how cell phones can be made. Like, imagine, like, what would they have to destroy for us to not ever be able to, like, just erase the knowledge of us being able to just make computers? Like imagine that. We don't even think about that because I'm sure that's possible. I'm sure that if they're like, oh, this guy and this building and this thing, and they blow it all up, boop, all of a sudden we're in the Stone Age again, and we don't even realize that. But we just killed the people that have the knowledge, or we just killed, or we killed the people that know where the knowledge is, or we killed, like, you know, we killed enough of the knowledge off, or we destroyed enough of the stuff, or we broke enough of the fundamental pieces to where it doesn't work anymore, or society as a whole doesn't function, and the whole thing collapses like a house of cards. No military. No fucking just anything. Nothing being shipped in or out. No fucking, you know, yeah, phones fucking, yeah, like, we don't know how to make them. We got to start just figuring out how that even fucking works again, you know what I mean? Because it's just us 12 dudes wandering around and everything's broken. You know what I mean? It's fucking crazy. But yeah, just imagine if one day fucking somebody declared war on us and they were just like, oh yeah, we're going to destroy America. And they just did. And we're wandering the streets like, oh, but I'm not dead. They didn't destroy America. My house house is still standing and I'm still alive. But then, like, the more that you, like, live your life and you realize that TV and everything's gone, and the more you live your life, you realize, oh, like, maybe you won't even realize because the phones and everything are off. Maybe you won't even realize that everything's actually broken. But it's like maybe just the rest of the world watching you. Because, yeah, your communication to the outside world and everything will be broken. You'll be thrown back into the Stone Age. The whole world will be watching you guys on their fucking smartphones like, oh my fucking god. And that's us in fucking Ukraine, dude. Isn't that nuts? People were just like, we're going to overthrow your government. And they just started doing it. And they just started blowing. You know what I mean? It's the same thing as if people came here and started doing that to us. We're like, holy bejesus motherfucker, what the fuck? And so it's like, you know what? It all comes down to there's rules for war. Right. All the fucking people that have the nukes in the planes and the jets with the nipples, and they're just like, everybody that's like has a tie on and like sits with a little microphone in the UN meetings or whatever the fuck, they're like, okay, we gotta set up some rules for the whole war thing. And they like set up rules, which is so like counterproductive and weird and backwards and redundant and fucked up and just so stupid and weird and fucking ironic to me. But and so they set all these rules and parameters for what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do in war. And I didn't even know fucking some of these rules. Like, you're not allowed to target civilians. Like, I didn't know that. I mean, that makes sense. But it's like, oh yeah, you're not allowed to murder innocent people. But it's like, isn't everybody sort of innocent in a way? And people are all just kind of subjected to their own thing. And we're all just sort of, you know? But it's like, so it's like, I didn't know that it was just supposed to be like the troops fighting other troops. Like, there's just rules like that. Like, oh, Russian troops are supposed to just attack the Ukrainian troops. They're not supposed to bomb civilians. I didn't know that. I thought that war was, like, that's what war was. You know? As fucked up as that is. I mean, yeah, war's fucked up. Isn't that part of it? Yeah, war is fucked up. Yeah, that's what I thought it was, though. I didn't know that it's a rule you're not allowed to target civilians. So that's something I learned recently. But yeah, so not only that, is there's also parameters for the war. Okay? That's kind of what the whole NATO territory thing comes back to. Is it's like, okay, we can have our war games, and we can be sociopaths, and we can sit here in our ties and be white sociopaths, you know? But we're going to do it in our own way. Okay? We're gonna have our battlefield, and it's going to be Afghanistan, and it's going to be, you know, and it's going to be all these fucked up places. But it's not going to be over here. It's not going to be in America. It's not going to be in Europe. It's not going to be in blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, just the white places? NATO, I don't know if they're all white places. But yeah, so it's just like, and yeah, that's probably why it is all the white places, because all the white people are the ones fucked up, making all the fucked up rules, and they're like controlling all the wars. It's like, because yeah, white people are terrible. But yeah, so they're like, yeah, keep the wars off of these territories. But it's fucked up because people agreed to do it, like Russia and like even China. But yeah, so it's like, but yeah, a bunch of people. But so there's places where wars are supposed to be, and there's places where war is not supposed to be, right? It's like you guys have your designated little battle zones, okay? Because the world's fucking stupid and crazy and weird and ridiculous, okay? So it's like, yeah, we're going to be fucking sociopaths, and we're going to be ridiculous, and there's going to be torture, but we're going to have it in this little area, okay? And these are going to be the battle zones. And of course, some of the people in the battle zones are like, why is the battle zone here? What the fuck? I was born in the battle zone? Great, cool. Glad I'm born in the battle zone. And of course, yeah, it's not great. And it's not awesome to just have like specific battle zones. But it's like, but part of it is that, yeah, there's fucked up places in the world, or there's places that are always at war because they're fucking crazy people. Like in the Middle East. Like, part of their religion is just fucking killing people left and right. And so we don't really agree with that. But we can't go in there and change their religion because that's going into their place and stepping on their toes. So it's more like we leave and let them do their thing. But we know that they're fucked up people. And we're like, oh, you're not allowed to call them fucked up. Oh, but they murder their own people, though. So that's a little fucked up, at least from my opinion. So I'm going to leave. They can do their own thing. Oh, it's kind of fucked up. They're murdering people over there, though. Well, yeah, but I guess that's their thing, though. Where you can't just be the world police. We tried. We did our thing, it backfired. It was a whole, you know, we're learning lessons as America. But it's crazy because, yeah, there's places like Mexico with like gangs and stuff. They'll always be at war with some fucking way or another in the streets, and they're all just fucking crazy or something, you know. And there's places that are like still developing where there's gangs that take, like the Taliban or like the fucking whatever the fuck, where like gangs run entire like places. But then there's like the first world like civilized places, and they're supposed to be off limits. Because we're the just fucking, just floating above everybody. Okay? We're supposed to be floating on a cloud above everyone. You know what I mean? But it's like, but no, yeah, so we set these little parameters, which is a lot of the world. It's like, okay, we'll split the world down in the middle 50-50, you know? But we have our parameters for war where the war is not supposed to be. And that has changed. Because Putin's like, hey, I just realized I don't have to listen to anybody. I woke up one morning, and I realized I have billions of dollars. I have my own army, and I don't have to do shit. I have all the pieces. I don't have to care. Putin woke up one morning, he's like, I don't have to give a fuck about anything. I just realized that. I just straight up realized that I don't have to give a fuck. I can just start I want Ukraine. Let's go take it. They can try to stop me. I don't give a fuck. I have tanks. I just realized I can do whatever the fuck I want. Let's go do that. But yeah, so America's getting dragged into it because of all sorts of stuff. Like, ever since that invasion first happened, all of a sudden, America's just slowly getting roped into it. First of all, because of the sanctions, okay? We just started, like, ruining Russia's, like, economy backwardsly, or not even just America, but the whole world is, like, shunned Russia. It's like, people are lining up at McDonald's to get their last burger because, like, McDonald's is, like, leaving Russia. Like, they're no longer allowed in the Olympics. They're no longer allowed to fucking, like, do this or that. Like, fucking, like, everybody's just shunning Russia. Their economy's just collapsing. Their entire civilization is just crumbling. And everybody's just panicking. It's gonna be, like, to the point where people are just eating each other. But we don't give a fuck. They're lucky that they're not being fucking bombed. They're lucky we're not ripping them to shreds in their streets and tearing them apart with buck knives and fucking them to death. You know what I mean? We think that what's happening in Russia is nothing. We're like, their society will crumble and it can fall apart and they'll just eat each other in the streets. But that's nothing compared to what they're doing to Ukraine. It's funny because, we think sanction. Yeah, that's just a word. We'll just call it, we gave them their little sanctions. And we're just fucking with their money. What is that really going to do? It's not like we're dropping bombs on them. So we just downplay it. But they're sort of starving and it's like it's about to be one giant riot. But they're just lucky they're not being bombed. We're just going to downplay it and pretend it just, But so Putin's like, hey, those sanctions are totally an act of war. You know that, right? Because my people are going to starve to death and you guys are pretending like it's nothing. He's like, all my people are like fucking 11 unhappy. Like, morale is like shot to shit and everybody's turning against me. I consider that an act of war. He's straight up like, yeah, everybody's fucking pissed. So he's considering the sanctions already an act of war, which, sort of valid point. And then there's Americans that are just going over there to volunteer or like to help fight, or from everywhere, from Australia, from Canada, from fucking all over the place. People are flooding in from everywhere to help Ukraine. People are just coming in to just fucking. And Russia's like, God damn it, what the fuck? Why is everybody and their mom fucking all of a sudden fucking have their back? He's like, I was just decided to just kill this stupid little dumb country, and everyone in the world has their back now. They're like, son of a bitch. That wasn't part of the plan. But it's funny because, Putin has the audacity to say, hey, for people to just go over there and help them out is going against the war rules, okay? You guys can't just send trained soldiers over there to help be in their army, okay? That goes against international contracts. Putin, don't say shit about international contracts when you're bombing hospitals and nuclear facilities and you're literally doing, everybody's breaking contracts now. So you know how it feels? So we have a bunch of like the world's best assassins over there trying to fight you now. So how's that for breaking contracts? You did it first. But it's like, so he sees that as an act of war. And then America's already involved because they just like kidnapped some of our people. There's like famous journalists and famous basketball stars and stuff that are like in Russia visiting or something. And all of a sudden they're kidnapped, used as blackmail or like fucking, they're, so it's like we're already involved in that way. Like, give us the people back. We're not involved. They're like, hey, we know we're not involved, but we're just going to hang on to them in case you become involved. We're like, hey, sounds premeditated. Give us our people back because now we sort of feel involved because you have our people. And we're like, hey, pretend we don't have them for a second. They're still just chilling. They wanted to be here. Remember, they're hanging out for a second. They're just being here, and they're just going to chill. And we're like, so now there's this little, this boiling under the surface of these people that are kidnapped. Yeah, it's funny because it's not funny. And then a journalist gets killed, which, I don't know if I got this correct, but they said that this journalist went there to film the people fleeing. And so it's like, okay, if you get a camera and you buy a plane ticket and you're like, I'm going to go to Ukraine because there's a war starting there. People are fleeing. Okay? People are running for their lives and screaming because people are murdering them. And there's some people that are stuck there that are trying to flee that'll never be able to leave, and they'll just have to be sitting there like sitting ducks and they'll get murdered. But I'm going to leave the safety of my home, and I'm going to go there and film the people fleeing. I'm going to go there and report. Oh, I'm a journalist. Don't shoot me. I'm just here reporting. I'm from America. I landed here to just film these refugees fleeing in the country. So that guy, I don't care that he got murdered. That guy got himself murdered. Okay? If you leave America and you're like, oh, there's a giant, bloody, fucking savage, crazy, fucking apocalyptic tragedy happening over there. I'm gonna go film it. And then he gets killed and it's like, oh, holy fuck, who could have seen that one coming? How would he have ever died? So that one is kind of, you know. But yeah, America's getting dragged into it just slowly. And then Russia the whole time has been like, no, we're not fighting NATO, okay? But as of like a few days ago, where they're like, hey, your bombs are inching closer and closer to Poland, which is like, you know, you attack Poland, you're attacking America, because you attack one of the Justice League, you attack all the Justice League. So their bombs are getting closer and closer. And it's to the point where, like, literally one of the last things that I read is like, Putin's just accepted it. He's like, yeah, one of the bombs is going to fucking probably hit him, okay? Probably. He's like, yeah, we're bombing that whole area. Oh, and you know another way that America's already involved? The last place that they bombed in Ukraine was the military site where people from other countries station if they go to help Ukraine. There's a military base that's designated to when foreign fighters come, that's where they station. And it's mostly all outside people that are stationed there to begin with, and they blew up that place, like yesterday. And so now Putin's kind of fucking accepting. He's like, yeah, okay, so we're probably going to go to war with NATO. Because it's probably his plan all along, or who fucking knows, and it's all irrelevant, and it's kind of bullshit. It's just like, his thinking just seems so fucking all over the place in this whole situation. Because it's like, does he really just want to get his ass kicked by the entire world? It doesn't seem like that would go well for him. It's like, so does he not care if it doesn't go well for him? But it's just like, does he not care if the whole world goes to shit? It's like, yeah, probably not, but it's just like, fuck, dude. But yeah, it just sucks, because every day it gets worse. Every day it's just like, oh, now NATO's almost really involved. And now it's just like, they bombed a place like fucking 10 miles from the border. Every freaking day it's something fucking different. So it's like give it fucking a month and we're gonna be fucking involved in this war. You know, and that's the first step to World War III. We're just going to turn on the news and it's going to be, oh, America's in a war again. And nobody's even going to notice. Nobody's even going to care. It's just going to be, oh, America's in another war. It's not even going to be anything to fucking flinch about. People are just going to be like, oh, well, I guess, you know, I am a Marine, so I guess I'm going to be deployed next summer and back to the fucking office, you know? And people are just going to be like, oh, yeah. Like, so much of our military is just, oh, it's just going to be another day in the office. Or, like, people are going to be like, we declared war with Russia. And people are just going to be like, oh, we declared war with Russia. Oh. And then they're still going to get up and go to school, or they're going to go to work, and they're going to be like, oh, did you hear it, guys? We're at war with Russia now. Like, oh. And people are just going to be sitting in class like, well, I bet we're going to kick their fucking ass. And it's going to be, oh, this or that, oh, this. And then fucking Saturday Night Live is going to be like, did you hear that we're at war with Russia, guys? And Jay Leno's going to be like, fucking war with that fucking, so yeah, I bet this is going to be a disaster for us. Ooh. And then fucking, like, people are going to, like, something's going to explode, and people are going to be like, what the fuck is that? And then we're going to, like, people are it's going to start shelling, or people are going to start getting bombed, and, like, people are going to just, like, start dying. What the fuck? What? And we're gonna be just so confused. We're gonna what? And it's gonna be like, oh yeah, that war though. Like, I know how you're used to being at war, and it's like, I guess I'm gonna get my plane ticket and I'm gonna go to the desert and fucking shoot some people and have a Capri Sun or two, and it's just like, do some push-ups with my dudes. But you don't realize the side of it where you're sitting at McDonald's and your Happy Meal explodes and your family's dead now, and you're like, oh, so that's the war that we were talking about. Yeah, so it's here now, and this is part of it. Yeah, you know all those tragedies that you see overseas? Yeah, it's happening to you now. Oh, this is how that happens. You know what I mean? We're just gonna be hanging out like, oh, just so you hear we're at war with Russia, and then fucking we turn on the news, it's like, oh, it's like 17,000 people were killed when this entire city was leveled. We're gonna be like, what the fuck? So, so that war that we're involved in, that's that. Isn't that fucking weird? Yeah, so that's what that means. And you could be next. Oh, isn't that weird? Oh, who's gonna be next? But yeah, we're being bombed now. And so yeah, not much is different. But your house might blow up. Or, that's all that's different. The only thing different is that you or your neighbors or your friends or somebody might just randomly get killed at any moment. But go about your life until that happens, I guess. You'll just be working at McDonald's or whatever until fucking something just blows up. Just imagine that. Imagine World War III breaking out and being over in, like, no time. And we're just like, what the fuck was that, dude? Just imagine, like, watching it on the news and, like, all of a sudden, like, maybe our TV goes out, like, a month later. Or, yeah, our TV and our cell phones go out, and then a month later, like, comes back. And we look on the news, and it's like, yeah, we were totally at war. Like, everything's in shambles. And then, like, you just, like, hunker down in your house, and, like, you just have, like, a fucking just bullshit-ass year of, like, just barely scraping by, like... You just, like, you're drinking out of your fucking toilet and out of your fucking water tank, and you're fucking, like, you're, like, eating the last of your canned food, and you're, like, fucking barely scraping by. And then all of a sudden, like 3 years later, like it seemed like 10 or 15 years, but it's only been 3 years. And 3 years later, like they come on the over the intercom, like, "Hey, the war's over. You can come out now, and we're gonna start rebuilding society." Yeah. Cause yeah, just imagine that. Just imagine the slow progression of war and how trippy that'd be. Just one day, just like, "Oh, we're at war again. Ain't no thing." And then one day you're just like, "Oh, they just like blew up my grocery store." Like, that's it. Like, wouldn't that just be a trip? Like, oh, this is that attack. Maybe like one person died. You're like, "Oh, thank God. That's a miracle that they dropped a bomb and it leveled like this entire fucking parking lot with like 5 stores and like." But, like, you know, maybe it's like a Sprint and and then a little Asian mart that wasn't open and, like, but it leveled 5 stores and so it's really cool that it only killed one person. I mean, such a tragedy, but it's still a miracle that only one person died. But it's just like, but then your grocery store is gone. And then that starts to set in. The craziness of, oh, that bombing happened, but then the craziness of, oh, so the grocery store that I go to is gone now. Which is super random and inconvenient. You don't think of you're like, okay, so that's how this war is affecting me, is my grocery store's gone now? Super fucking random. Or like your gas station gets blown up. And then all of a sudden buildings start to get leveled around you. And then you're just like, you start having this weird kind of a panic. You're like, wait a minute. They blew up all these gas stations to where like I'm having a problem, like I can't drive anywhere now. And that just like hits you like a ton of bricks all of a sudden. You're like, oh my God, wait a minute. I'm all of a sudden in fucking panic mode. Like I was just jacking off, like fucking watching TV, and I all of a sudden realized that okay, I have to drive super far if I want to go to a grocery store because they blew up my grocery store. But they also blew up the gas station, so I can't really drive very far. And oh my God, I'm in a crisis because of all this shit. And wait a minute, they didn't like bomb me and blow me up, but like, am I gonna starve? Like they blew up my government. Like they're blowing this to smithereens, or oh, the cops have left because they're just all just living their own lives, or they went into the fucking army, or or just like, you know, everybody's defending for themselves, and it's just like everything's kind of fucking in shambles. But it's just like, yeah, and it's just imagine you're just like, oh, I thought it was gonna be so much worse. I thought that I was gonna have to be ducking grenades left and right. But no, you'll just hear thunder every now and again. It's like, oh, they blew up our tire store. Super fucking random, but I still don't feel like I'm affected by it. Like all this stuff could be happening to you, and you don't even feel like it's happening to you. An entire apartment complex could get leveled, could kill like 400 people, and you're like, oh my God, that was so close. Good thing nobody I knew lived there. Good thing I wasn't there. And in such specific places of your town get demolished, you're like, oh my God, I'm so lucky to be alive. But so many people are going to be lucky to be alive. It's only going to kill such a small amount of people, right? Other people are going to die because the world's going to be in shambles, or because they'll be hungry, or because of, you know, because of any number of things. But it's weird to think that all this bombing could fucking happen and we could just be fucking like it'd be such a slow progression, and it might not even really affect us, or might not be even that brutal. And we might just like see things fucking get demolished around us, and we'd be like, oh my God, like I can't believe I fucking survived that. And then like in 5 years it could just be over, and we're like, oh my fucking God, like I lived through that war. Like I remember when they blew up my grocery store, and I thought that was impossible, and like we could just have a fucked up 5 years. We could just have a fucked up 5 or 10 years. Like some shit is gonna happen in the next few years, and it's gonna be interesting to see. It'd be really fucking cool if America just fucking was like, silencio por favor, and just fucking stopped the madness, dude. If like fucking, you know, if the evil wants to stand up in the world, I hope that fucking NATO, if they're the Justice League, we can just fucking and fucking annihilate the evil, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just, the reason I say that is just, it's weird, because I recently was doing like some research on war stuff, and the Holocaust was only like 3 years or something, which is so weird for me to wrap my mind around that. I've worked at this pizza restaurant longer than the Holocaust happened, which is so weird to me. That makes sense now to me as how there's Holocaust survivors. Because you're going through this entire fucking tragedy. You're like, oh my God, it's literally the end of the world. We're all being tortured to death. This is the worst stuff I had ever seen in my life, times 12. Can't believe this is even a reality. Oh my God, I'm as good as dead. I wish I was dead right now, because this is literally hell on earth. What the fuck is happening? Holy shit. I can't believe, like, literally Nazis, dude. Literally Nazis in torture camps. What the fuck is happening? And then boom, like America rolls in. Fucking they wrap a blanket around you. All the Nazis get murdered. And they, like, throw you in a helicopter. Fucking give you fucking some water. And you're just like, oh my God. And they're just, like, fucking America's fucking sitting there with fucking, you know, whoever fucking helped them, and they got their sunglasses on, and America's just like, hello, you know, like, but yeah, these people are probably like sitting there like, oh my God, I can't fucking believe that we're all fucking just gonna be fucking just murdered, like mass murdered. Like, we've watched so many people just get fucking annihilated, and like we're next, and then oh, it's over. You guys can go back to your lives. We killed them all. You're like, what? I'm definitely like traumatized times 12. They're like, no, yeah. But you can go back to your life now. Yeah. I'm so sorry, but yeah, no, they're all dead. Yeah, we'll help you, but yeah, and then it was just over. It was like over in no time. You know what I mean? Which I'm glad, because for some reason in my mind I had it that went on for so long. And for some reason I had it in my mind that it was like generations or like 20 years or like something. I don't know what I thought. But I kind of thought it was so sad that it went on for so long. I thought, man, that's hell on earth. That was literally hell on earth for such a long time. But then when I think that it was 3 years, it kind of made me relieved. Like, oh, okay, the world figured that out quick. Is I guess how I felt better about that. I was like, oh, okay. So the Nazis, like, started to do their reign, but they got fucking stopped. Like, 3 years is not very long to just, like, they're all fucking murdered now. Like, that Nazism's, like, they got fucking erased from the earth. No more Nazis, you know, at least in theory or whatever. But so it's like, I don't know, I always thought that it went on for like such a long time, and I was like, damn, just imagine like sitting in concentration camps for years and years and years and just watching the world get torn apart, and you're just like, man, the world has just turned into hell. So Earth is just a torture fucking conscious realm now, where you just come here and it's just terrible and pain and awful, and it's just the worst thing ever. And then you're just like, damn, this is just reality now. But then, nope, people fixed that shit in no time. And that makes me happy. Because even though 3 years is a long time, and the whole war was like 6 or 7 years or something, but it's like the fact, like the more you get older, you realize that 3 years is like no time at all. Like, I feel like I've not been at my job for very long. When I think that the Holocaust was 3 years, I just think, damn. Or when I think that the whole World War II was like 6 or 7 years, I just think that that's fucking insane. Because a lot of people died in that time frame. But also just insane because just, I don't know, just so much change and so much destruction and so much can just happen in such little amount of time. It's like the world's normal, chaos, normal, chaos, normal. And I feel like that's the trend of things, and I feel like we're going to go into one of those chaotic periods. But didn't like the end of the war like bring some revolution or something though? So that's what I think is weird, is when this, even, I mean, hopefully it doesn't go nuclear, but even if nuclear war was to happen, a lot of people would survive, and if the planet isn't fucked up, the survivors could enter like a new, like, because I've heard that on something, that like there's flows to society or whatever, and that after like big wars, there's like big, like, I don't know. I think that at the end of World War II, there was a big technological uprising, and a lot of stuff changed for the better. And like we got more grown up as a species or a society or both or something, and a lot changed, you know, and people changed. Like no more Nazis. Like people got better, or at least we like to think so. Until this whole thing happened with Putin, and we're like, God damn, the devil's back. God damn it, fucking evil's back. But no, it's just weird to think that yeah, the world could just totally go through this whole thing and be totally different. Like by the time I'm 40, we could just be in a totally different world. It could be like we're all in concentration camps and it's run by the whole world's run by communist Russia. Or we could all just live in a paradise. Yeah. We could go to World War III and fucking half the fucking planet gets fucking murdered. And us in a specific ass town might not even be affected or anything by the war. Maybe our food and our whatever will be affected. And, you know, maybe we'll, like, know a few people that die, and maybe even, yeah, our grocery stores or whatever will get blown up, or, like, maybe we'll be a little bit affected. But just imagine if just, like, half the world dies, but it doesn't really affect you or your life, and then all of a sudden, like, the smoke clears, and the war's over, and all of a sudden, just the world's different, you know? Just all of a sudden, just, like, because, yeah, it could be a utopia, like, oh, cool, yeah, you know, population control. We wanted all the dumb fucks to be gone. Now, we have half the people, and we have all these resources, and, you know, we can restart government. And it could be a utopia at the end, and, like, the economy could just, like, start booming. Because that's what I think it was. I think there was a big economy boom, and, like, everybody was wealthy or something after the war. Or, like, I don't know, it was, like, everybody was happy, and it was, like, a good time to be an American. Like, everybody, you know, had a fucking job, and you know, everybody was wealthy just from doing their 9 to 5. I mean, I don't know. Who knows what the fuck could happen? That's what's so weird about it, though, is who knows, you know? But something's gonna happen, dude. I give it, like, 2 weeks before we're fucking in this war with Russia, dude. Whether we want to or not, dude. And who knows what that even means? I don't know what it means. Are we gonna go over there and just attack Russia? Probably not, because their civilians aren't really involved. I don't even know what that means. Would we just go to Ukraine and protect them? I don't know. Or would we just level Russia? I mean, probably not, but I mean, like, what if we did? Wouldn't that be insane? Be, like, proud to be an American for once. Be like, oh, fucking the world's evil fucking posted up on us, and America just fucking leveled them. And everybody's like, oh, don't fuck with America. Holy shit. Like, oh, wouldn't that be nice, you know?